So, first question. What is your biggest regret in life?
Biggest regret? Not raising most of my kids.
How did that happen?
I went to prison at a young age, and I had already, I had a daughter at the time, and I just didn't get to see her grow up, and it was the same. Every time I came home, I would start a relationship and create a child, and then I would be right back in prison again. So most of my kids grew up without me in their lives.
And when you say that that is your biggest regret, what does that look like for you? What do you wish you would have done?
I mean, one, I wish I would have stayed out of prison, and made better decisions. I get to meet my oldest one for the first time this year, and I honestly don't know how I'm going to react or even, I just don't know how I'm going to feel. I mean, I'm pretty numb when it comes to feelings. We were just talking about that yesterday. I just starting to learn.
But you're trying to right those wrongs, correct? Slowly but surely?
Yes.
How?
Okay.
So like I said, I know that you have been on this path of trying to right those wrongs, right? So let's start from the beginning. Tell me about your family.
I was born in Chicago. My dad, I guess you could say I'm the first generation American here. My dad was born in Mexico, and then, he came at a young age to the United States, and my dad and mom got married at 14. My mom's from Mexico too, from Guanajuato. And, she came over with my dad, not knowing the language and stuff like that. So we got raised very, Mexican culture. You spoke Spanish at home and English at school with your friends. Very dysfunctional family, I guess. And my dad drank, did a lot of drugs. That's a lot. A lot of the things as a child I really don't remember too much. Just all the chaos. I can't say that I have like a lot of fond memories as a child because I don't. I mean, I have one, the first bike he ever gave me, and it was just because he never gave me shit. So that memory's there. But other than that, I mean, it was chaos. Him coming home drunk, beating my mom, just screaming, yelling. So I would pretty much lock myself in the room, and I spent a lot of time by myself. So I played outside a lot by myself because there wasn't really too many rules in the house. So that was my childhood pretty much.
And I'm assuming that at some point, how did you start coming into contact with people on the street, that kind of lifestyle? When did you start to sort of be a part of that?
Well, I mean, I was always searching for what I didn't have at home. So, I would see the guys hanging out on the corners. I mean, I even started hanging out with, there was a time where my mom, moved to Mexico, and there was gangs over there too, there was a bunch of guys that hung around, and they were part of a neighborhood, and I hung around with them. And I was always in search for, I guess, a family, a bond, uh, to be part of something. And I was very, very drawn to the street life. Uh, I liked the feeling of people respecting me and loving me. So that's what kind of drew me to them. And when I moved back to America in like the late 80s, I got very, very involved with the gang culture where I grew up, where my dad lived, you know.
In Chicago?
Yeah, in Chicago.
And did they immediately embrace you?
Oh yeah, I mean, they're constantly on the lookout for kids that are running around by themselves, and you know, it's a breeding ground pretty much, especially when you put 20 houses of all Mexicans with 4 floors, a family in every floor, 5 kids, parents are always working. So what do you have? You have yourself a breeding ground for gangs.
So how old were you at this point?
I was about 10.
You were 10.
Yeah.
And so what kind of things did you start to do at that point?
I mean, I would steal stuff for them to kind of like make them like me and stuff like that. I would break into cars, steal stereos, you know, run to the store for them. Just, you know, little stuff. I started, when I first started hanging out in that neighborhood in Chicago, I started to get picked on because someone in that neighborhood didn't like me. So that summer, I spent my summer cutting grass to save up for a gun. And, you know, pretty much I knew that I was going to prove myself that year. And, you know, everything changed for me after that. I thought I had found the solution to everything.
You know, it's an interesting mentality to have, especially at such a young age. You know, I can't really think of too many kids at how old? 10?
10.
That would think about, I'm going to save money to buy a gun. What do you think that mentality came from?
I just guess from seeing it every day, it was like a normal thing to see, you know, drive-bys and a lot of my friends getting shot. And I mean, my best friend Phil got shot and died pretty much in front of me in Cicero when I was in 7th grade. So, I mean, you experience a lot of trauma and a lot of stuff that I guess normal kids don't experience in other areas. I don't know how to explain it. Like, a lot of people are like, well, you chose that life. And I'm like, yeah, to a certain point. When I got older, maybe. But as a kid, I didn't have no choice. That's where I grew up. And that's what I knew. And for a long time, that's what I thought that I was going to be my life.
Yeah, so how did you go from, let's say, stealing smaller type things, and then you started to work your way up that chain?
Respect. Pretty much, the older guys always took, I've always had a gift, I guess you could say. People take a liking to me. And the older guys in charge would always, you know, ask me to jump in the car with them, and you know, all the younger shorties would be like jealous of me because they would be like, oh, you don't even hang out in the neighborhood no more because you're too busy driving around in the car with XX or, you know, so-and-so. And they used to like to have me in the car, and I would ride around with them, and, you know, I would prove myself, and I started moving up pretty fast like that, you know. I guess I was just looking to fit in.
Yeah. So, can you tell us what were some of what kinds of things did you start to do at that point? What was it about that life also that really attracted you at that time?
I mean, let's be honest, the money, the power, the respect. People knew who I was. With all that comes, you know, it's almost like fame, I guess you could say. women,
Street
everything.
fame.
Yeah, street fame, and I liked it. I was the adrenaline rush was real, and I fell victim to it.
So let's get real. What kind of stuff did you do at that time?
Drug deliveries, shootings. You know, it was chasing cars, crashing them, making them crash. It was you were in the battle zone. So, I mean, it was constant like chaos every day. Every day, driving around, you know, you would bump into enemies and you would start shooting at red lights. They would start shooting at you. Some guys were shooting at us with a shotgun, and I miscounted the rounds. And I told my friend, I was like, they're out, they're out. And we started running towards them, and he had one more shot. And he shot, and I hid behind my friend because he was like a really big dude. So I hid behind him, and he got sprayed. But lucky for him, it was just those little buckshot that they use for birds that they pierce your skin, but they don't go inside. And it was normal to me. Like that life was normal. Like there was, I guess you could say that when there wasn't a shooting or a chasing or something like that going on, I would always say something bad's gonna happen today, because it wasn't a normal day.